Since the genre we're working with in this class is horror, let's take a further examination of horror movie makeup. For our project, we have, of course, limited budgets and low skill levels when it comes to special effects makeup. So we really don't have to be concerned with even this level of using special effects makeup to achieve our purposes. But when we do independent movies and we do horror movies, the makeup artist that does this is usually anywhere from the key makeup to the onset makeup people, because to do bruises and scars and wounds is not that hard a skill for all makeup artists to really end up understanding. It's a mixture of Kao syrup with a little food coloring, thicken it with some chocolate, maybe mix in some oatmeal, maybe you use a little latex, some foundation, coloring. All that can be experimented with, and that's the joy of doing a horror movie. If we look at our predecessors, whether it's Jack Pierce doing Frankenstein or Wolfman, or those crazy movies from the 40s and 50s that dealt with sci-fi monsters, and we see the influences which we'll bring from any type of art. Here, African masks mixed with mollusk-like snail eyes, or here we have a kabuki look with makeup and the fright wig to create the monster. And in the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Gillman, we can see almost a medieval armor plate mixed with exaggerated fish-like features. And then as we go on, in the B movie genre of horror movies, it gets absolutely ridiculous. This looks like the yarn monster with a couple of poached eggs for eyes. And whether we laugh at it or actually are frightened of it, we can see the attempts that worked and didn't work that will help us for our own makeup purposes. Here we can see someone obviously took a gas mask, a World War I gas mask, and just built around it to create this monster. And this reptile, I think this was Lizard Man, one of the movies in the 60s, B movies, 60s, 70s, the lizard creature. Guy transforms himself to a lizard and takes a kind of Mayan, Aztec, tessellated look with that kind of coloration for eyes, almost like some kind of carnival mask. Whether we use those or whether we don't use those as images to work from, it's fun to see the B movies to give us an idea of what can be achieved, what to avoid. But whether the monsters work or not, it's always fun to watch, just in a sense of the artistry. Here, for our own purposes, doing scars to build with all the makeup kits that you can get in the horror genre is fun, and we can, play with all the actors and overdoing the goop or underdoing it. Here we can see this is like Ben Nye blood. You can see it's not really a mixture that they mix. It's a Ben Nye blood, which looks very realistic, and you can thicken it or thin it as per the requirement. And here you can play with latex too for a manifold number of effects, including the zipper head here, where we can create the latex skin on the outside and then reveal the goopy underside with all the makeup gore that we can stuff in the mask. And then we can also do the bruising, which is something you teach in the beginning makeup class, where you take the foundation and you play with it, making the browns and reds mix against the skin. If you're doing it as an indie project, it's really good to have an actor you can experiment with and go the distance, like this woman here, where she's using the fake contact. You can get contact lenses that can do anything to your eyes. She's willing to go that length. Of course, she's got all sorts of piercings, so she's a big experimenter. But here, you have somebody to experiment. If they're willing to experiment with you, you can go the distance and create your own independent horror movie very effectively. Here we see all the different angles and examples here, but they're playing with bruising, they're playing with begriming, they're playing with little Joker extension of the lips, they're playing with all the tried and true variations here, with their mouth extended, and the bruising, though, I think is very well done here. The purple olive tones they use for a bruising and together with changing the context of the different eye there to get the result in extending the mouth and its gap. It's just one final creation here, which they settle here on the distorted face, which, if it pops out from the shadows, will certainly be effective whether it's a B movie or not. And if you have your facial makeup together, then you just need your prop person to make sure that they get a quick picture of the actor eating their lunch. But let's go back, and in order to really understand horror movie makeup, there's some good examples from our historical review here. Here we have the early Nosferatu, one of the early, or maybe the earliest vampire movie that was really widely distributed. It's like at the dawn of celluloid. This is a non-speaking vampire, sails into Germany and almost single-handedly establishes what we see as the horror cinema genre today. This is Count Orlok, who was modeled after the rodents that carried Spanish influenza, a disease that killed millions around the world just after the First World War. An aura of fear was cast over the production and promotion, with some believing that an actual vampire played the Count. To stoke these rumors, the director F.W. Murnau segregated actor Max Schreck. Remember, Murnau is the person we just showed you who was doing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the 20s. He segregated Max Schreck from the rest of the cast, forbidding him from mingling except in costume and full makeup. This makes determining the crafty, freakish makeup very effective, of course. The actors in early cinema often designed and applied their own makeup. Schreck is often credited, along with art director Albin Grau, for combining a bald cap with white makeup and pointy ears to establish the original cinematic bloodsucker. Blair Witch notwithstanding, the advent of widespread technology negates the possibilities of these mysteries, such mysteries today. Now we could look up Max Schreck on 5 different types of social media, or view paparazzi images of the makeup process on the set, so we know that this really isn't the person himself, as people thought at the time they were filming with him. We have Jack Pearson at work here with Frankenstein, as was mentioned before, but I think the Bride of Frankenstein, the bride with the coldest feet in silver screen history, Elsa Lanchester, presented him with a different challenge altogether. Pierce successfully blended the glamorous with the grotesque, remember in the Beauty and the Beast kind of combo, combining a pale pallor and seemingly slipshod stitching at the jawline with Hedy Lamarr-worthy black eyeliner, like we said about the 30s, and that's almost Marlene Dietrich-like, and dark lipstick. The result remains one of the most beautiful monsters ever committed to celluloid. A lot of people imitate, but very few can really compare with what Jack Pierce did with this dynamic duo between Frankenstein and the Bride of. Rarely has anybody been this ingenious. In The Exorcist, in the case of Regan, someone like Jack Smith, who is working with William Friedkin here in the 1973 parable of a religion gone wild, and what the spectacle of the possession classic has carried on the back of Linda Blair and her hideous transformation of from the girl next door to Satan incarnate. So Dick Smith's effects, and he is the granddaddy of great makeup designs after Pierce. Regan haunts the nightmares of the countless viewers as her yellow eyes, her torn up skin, the billboard tummy challenging cinema's preconceived notions of how far horror could go. And all the while, Rick Baker worked on the sidelines as Smith's assistant, carving his own way to an eventually illustrious career in the same industry. For nearly 35 years, horror audiences have watched as Jason Voorhees grew up. When we first met him in the 1980 series debut of Friday the 13th, he was just a little tyke, eager to pull his mom's killer to the watery grave. Though he failed on his first attempt, the man behind the mask ultimately succeeded in his revenge and proceeded to tally up dozens, if not hundreds, of helpless victims. The Friday 13th effects team has been a revolving door with all sorts of artists, from Tom Savini adding his signature work to the first film and returning a few years later for the final chapter, of course, which wasn't the final chapter. In between and subsequently, the franchise rode through a vast crew of artists, including uncredited Stan Winston and other great makeup artists. Though Jason hides beneath his love for Wayne Gretzky, um, the audience's occasional glimpse of his grotesque face manages to be all the more effective due to its rareness. In New Blood, in particular, his unmasking proves both startling and spectacular, a feat in makeup design made all the more impressive since we all suspected the moment was coming since the opening credits. With Freddy Krueger in The Nightmare on Elm Street, the makeup design has taken almost as many twists and turns as the franchise itself. Like Jason, the lead makeup artist shifts between films, permitting some room for each makeup artist to put in their own mark, the designer to leave their own mark, and with varying success, if you've seen the series in its many manifestations. And when it comes to the genesis of this genius, David Miller is the one who really started it all. As the makeup artist on the original 1984 film, he guided Wes Craven away from the more decayed design that might have required a puppet instead of an actor, and eventually crafted a monstrous mug that not even a mother would likely to love. 13 Ghosts, also known as simply as 13 Ghosts, just number 13 instead of the written word, is a 2001 horror film directed by Steve Beck. It's a remake of the 1960 film of the same name by William Castle. But the special effects here you can see are just spectacular. Here's that Harridan thing with the contacts, more and more prominent now. The fake contacts to get a sense of the dead eyes. And here we have the submerged woman going pale with her dead face makeup. But this is the Beauty and the Beast and persona. There, another Beauty and the Beast change, and we can see the makeup here as we take the hair down, we plaster it down, put in the fright wig, which of course is essential, and then here we have an example of American Werewolf from Paris instead of American Werewolf from London, taking the Beauty and Beast transformation, not only giving the ghastly purple and the popped out contacts, but the scarred, raking claws across the neck, exemplifying the blood. And we have here The Shining, one of the classic examples of the transformation between Beauty and Beast. But look at this, it's all copper, dried red blood motif. And like we have in Sam Raimi's Return of the Living Dead, where we've teased it out so it's the bread, everything is this blood red reflection spiking the body to give us that ultimate horror look. And here we have another Beauty and the Beast in high spirits, where totally unrecognizable, but the latex scored and deepened and blackened to give the ultimate decay as a wonderful example of what to do with horror makeup.